Hey, 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 it's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, I'm glad y'all here. Everybody except for the one Detroit Lions fan named Kyle Edwards, who on my nerves because I lost the bet. The rest of y'all, good to see you today. Um, one time I was, I think Markeisha Griffin will remember this story, but I was in elementary school, and there was this kid named Orann, and Orann was just he was fast. He was just strong. He was all the things, and Orann was also kind of a bully. And one time we were playing kickball, and Orann kicked the kickball like straight at me, and it hit me in the chest, but I caught it, and everybody like did the oh, and even our teacher, Mr. Cooper, was laughing and clapping, and Orann was on a warpath after that. He was so mad he was gonna get me, and so for a few days, I made sure that I was like never around Orann. Even going so far as missing my bus one time, missing my bus so that I wouldn't have to be on the bus with Orann. But after a couple days, I had to ride the bus home, and Orann was on my bus route, and he was getting on the bus, and he had been telling everybody he was gonna get me. He was gonna get me, and I was scared actually. Like I was like, oh my god, this little boy is you know, gonna beat me up. So one of the interesting things about empathy is that people think empathy means being kind, and that empathy means being nice. But empathy means to understand that no matter what another person thinks, feels, or believes, that it makes total sense to them. It means to try to step in the shoes of another person and understand things from their perspective. And so, if little old me was being empathetic to Orann, I would have recognized, in fact, I did recognize that Orann was embarrassed, and he was intent, and that embarrassment made him angry, and he was going to push that anger through me. I had a very clear understanding of that, and it was probably going to result in bodily harm. That is me not thinking about myself and my own feelings. That is me stepping into the shoes of Orann, looking at his past behaviors and understanding that no matter the fact that that didn't make any sense, that in kickball somebody's supposed to catch your ball, and that the team you're on supposed to be happy, don't matter. That's not where he was, and he was gonna make somebody pay, and that somebody was me. So when I had a clear understanding of that, dude, you think I'm about to play fair? No, because the likes of Orann don't play fair. So y'all ready for story time? Because this is what it went down like on that bus. When Orann gets on the bus, he mad, his face is all, he gonna get me. Child, I tripped Orann down that aisle and went to wailing on his head. I whooped his ass on that bus that day. And then Orann then had to sit behind me and hear all the laughter from the other children because he had gotten beat up by a girl. Now, here's what I'll tell you. It was pure luck. Because if I would not have tripped Orann, there was no way I was going to win that fight. But I never had another problem with Orann ever, ever again. So what in the world does that have to do with diversity and inclusion and empathy or any of the things? Today I'm going to be over at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, talking to, it's one of my glasses, talking to some women leaders about how DEI is not kindness. And it made me think about this article that I just was sent to me in the middle of the night on the Washington Post. And it's about behind the lines of Texas A&M's diversity war is how they're characterizing it. The July email to Texas A&M University instructors caught many by surprise, blah, 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 blah. The university would drop a required lesson on respect and inclusion, okay? So this semester-long program was critically part of your first year experience, at Texas A&M. And after, I guess, the affirmative action decision by the Supreme Court, Texas A&M walked back this directive, and the vice provost called it premature. Right? Let's fast forward through the little Porsche ads. Um, at least one school has also shuttered an LGBTQ resource center. And despite assurance that the restrictions won't infringe on the classroom, some faculty say they remain concerned about what may be on the horizon. Those fears are particularly acute at A&M, where the hiring of a new journalism director went off the rails this summer amid political concerns about her past work on diversity issues. So somebody's been working in the DEI space, and so they didn't want to hire her. Tensions in Texas come as the tools many colleges have historically used to improve diversity are increasingly verboten. The Supreme Court this summer struck down race-based affirmative action, and lawmakers in several states, such as Florida, are targeting programs. And look, Florida, Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, Kansas, that's like half the states, targeting programs and practices related to DEI across college campuses. The dismantling of DEI now underway at Texas A&M presents a sharp contrast from 2.5 years ago. The George Floyd effect is what I call it, when the regents who oversee the university pledged it would be a leader in advancing opportunities for all Texans. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't want to advance initiatives for all Texans. But interestingly enough, here's why I think that this is just like Orann. See, I went to a global empathy summit last Saturday, and people from all over the world studying empathy, sharing perspectives about empathy. And one of the critical skills that they were having us practice was the ability to listen. And I need to be a bit better listener. Listening for understanding rather than accuracy is a critical skill that I highlight in the book, Spark the Heart. And what's interesting is still people are like, we need to bring together people on both sides of an issue to have them listen to each other. What is the other side of making sure all Texans are included? What's the other side of that issue? When someone is saying, I want to make sure difference is present in our organization or at our institution, and I want to make sure people have what they need to be able to succeed, and I want to ensure that people feel like they belong here and are included in our programmatic activities, and that the climate here makes them feel comfortable. What's the other side of that? You see, the other side of that is, I'm a bully and I'm gonna beat you up. That's the other side of that. And when you are empathetic, when you recognize that there are people who don't want difference in their organizations or their institutions, and if it's there, they're not going to make sure everybody has what they need to get their work done. And if diversity is present, they're not going to make sure everybody feels like they belong. Why I need to listen to that? You see, if what I think is happening to us often is that we're doing this thing with empathy where I wouldn't be so hateful to make sure that I'm doing that I'm going over and above the call of duty to make sure you don't feel included. That I don't like it when you racialize the space, or when now I have to think about how I engage with you because gender differences are present. Because I don't want to have to think about accessibility and if I need to use the microphone or if I need to have captions, or because I don't want to think about that. I would never go so far as to do things that are exclusionary to make it so you can't come to my institution. So I then project that onto you. That's actually not empathy. I think that I can reason with you. You know, I will never forget that when Stokely Carmichael, who changed his name to Kwame Ture, but at the time was Stokely Carmichael, he was talking about nonviolent resistance and how it is an amazing strategy, actually, and that all over the globe, people have used nonviolent resistance to appeal to the conscience of their oppressor. And it has worked other places around the globe. But he said, that Martin Luther King had made, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King had made a critical error. And I leaned in because I'm like, what's the critical error? And that's when Stokely Carmichael said, you cannot appeal to the conscience of somebody who has no conscience. And that is what it feels like to me when someone suggests that, hey, I'm going to this thing and there's a white supremacist on the panel. And don't you want to listen? No, I'm going to trip him down the aisle on the bus. No, because why you think I don't understand that perspective? I have read plenty of books about it. I have lived the experiences of what it looks like. Just yesterday, I was coming back from Lawrence because I had spent some time with some students in the business school, KU. And I get to the toll booth. And, you know, on the way out there, they got a card machine. On the way back, they don't. And all I got is big bills. I didn't have I had $2.30 and I had a bunch of big bills. And I don't even know how it ended up that way. I think somebody gave me some money back that I loaned or something. I don't know, but that's what I had in my wallet. And so I get to the toll booth and it's $2.50. And on the way back, there's the people there. They don't have the card machine. And so I said, hey, listen, all I've got is a large bill. So I give her the bill and the lady says, and I'm going to leave out all demographics. You guess what her demographics are. I give her $100 bill and she says to me, well, we've got to get the license plate number when we got a bill over 50. Fine. She goes back, she gets the license plate number. She comes back to the booth and then she has a look on her face and she's like, and we're going to match the serial number to your license plate. Every once in a while, the first thought I'd be having is, see, this is why Peter cut people's ears off. Because you right now are making me not live up to my values. And I'm not living up to all the things that Jesus wants me to be in this moment because I don't have anything good to say. And it is nothing but the devil in me. And so I'm going to just look at you like this. And I'm going to keep having my phone conversation with my girlfriend because you need to get tripped down the aisle. Listen, if the rule is you got to get my tag number and you got to match it to the serial number on the $100 bill, follow the rule. But don't pull me into your foolishness that you think my bill is fake, lady. Like, that's your problem. That's a you problem, not a me problem. And here's what I wish I had time to do. Just a nice little gimbal walk so I could just be there with you all day and see how you handle all the other people who give you large bills who don't look like me. And this is why I think it is so important to go and see the real place. Because I know I have friends who would tell me, maybe you're just mischaracterizing her. Did you meditate today? Why are you always, my son, why are you always seeing the racism in this? Listen to me. Let me tell you what God knows. You can look at any one of my personality instruments. This is not a lack of self-awareness. I am optimistic and trusting by nature. My therapist has been trying to get me to for years. When you meet people, just be neutral. Why are you over here trusting people before they show you something different? I'm not telling you don't trust them. I'm telling you be neutral. And I struggle to be neutral because I just be like, hey, it's all good until you show me different. That's my natural tendency. And so, listen, I'm just trying to get back here to watch the football game. And then I got to deal with this. And I'm so sure that you ain't doing this to everybody who come through here. And so when I consider that this is my experience, just these little mosquito bites just all day, every day, everywhere, all the time, I don't want to see it. I want to be able to ignore it. And it's there. And the reason why people know it's there is because of the question Jane Elliott asked more than 20 years ago of an audience full of white people, saying to them very clearly, if you would trade places with a Black person here in the United States, won't you stand up? And not a single person stood up. You know why? because you understand what it's like and what people say and do and how they act when there's no racial diversity in the room. And you know it is unfair, you know it is inequitable, and that is why this perceived war on DEI is happening. But here's what I'll tell you. 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, when people were like, oh, let's put out these statements about race, it was me who was like, yeah, right. The organizations that have been working on this thing for 40, 50 years, it don't matter what the Supreme Court does around affirmative action, because they didn't need affirmative action for them to do the right thing anyway. Now, am I a fan of having laws that help us do what we're supposed to do? Absolutely, because people ain't going to do the right thing sometimes if you don't. Sometimes some of us need some rules and laws in order to do the right thing. The rules and laws made it such that Orann ain't supposed to be able to hit me on the bus. But when you use empathy and you understand clearly and you know what Orann done said, ain't no teacher on that bus. The person who gonna put him in ISS ain't on that bus. By the time Orann have to account for what done happened, my eye swollen and my lip busted. So I'm gonna trip him down that aisle. And look, what did old girl say in The Color Purple? You better bash Mr.'s head in and think about heaven later. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got work to do.